Hey y'all, welcome back to Business in Blue. I'm your host, Leah Harper, and today I'm sitting down with the creative whose work is as vibrant as their voice. You've probably seen their illustrations in major campaigns with brands like Skittles, YouTube, Crocs, PBS, just to name a few. Whether it's a mural, a package design, or a digital piece, Maya Saine's work centers joy, identity, and truth. They're a Memphis College of Arts grad, a non-binary illustrator, and a visual storyteller, and someone using their platform to shift culture in beautiful ways. Maya, I'm so glad that you're here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
How you feeling? How you feeling?
I'm actually really excited just to be here today. I just feel like I'm around such good energy today, so I'm always hyped.
All right, let's get into it. So I know that you studied graphic design
Yes.
at Memphis College of Art. So I want to know, what was that experience like for you, not only just as a designer, but as a storyteller and now as an artist?
To me, going to Memphis College of Art was such a beautiful experience. It's almost the best way I could describe it is kind of like the Baja House when all the crazy artists were just hanging out at these houses in the 1920s. That's how I feel about MCA. It gave me a lot of perspective of how to go about creativity and design because there were so many people from so many backgrounds in one space. So we were learning traditional and new age, so contemporary design. So I'm learning how people used to cut out stuff and stick it to make advertisement, and also getting on the computer to learn the new age, and then going from there afterward. Now people are on social media, so really learning that firsthand, and it just really helped me better make better like concise decisions about how I want to show up. Just to know, for example, to be around someone who actually knows how to do letterpress, like actually do the metal pieces and print stuff out manually, and then going to a job where a person's using like a big printer and it's just digitally printing because you just have the foundation. Basically, you can just break the rules or do whatever with the new technology because it's just a better version of what you learned. So great experience.
So now, taking those skills and the different things that you learned from MCA, how do you apply that to your role today? Like, what is your role today?
Okay, yeah. So with MCA, it was great because it allowed me to dive into, honestly, a career I didn't think I was going to do.
What did you think you wanted to do?
Oh, I thought I was going to be like some in-house designer for like Nike or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's still not.
It wasn't bad. It was just like, hey, I know I want to work at a, when you're in school, especially as a graphic designer, they push you to work at an agency, and then they want you to go somewhere else. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then, your perception of being successful is like, I'm going to work for this big brand, being early 20s, And what you learn is basically that's just not the case. You kind of just have to follow what really feels natural to you, and also things that you're just getting good results from. And when I was attending college, I took an internship at International Paper for a year. So during that time, I actually was very sketched out about that because I was like, no, that's way too corporate for me. I don't like big brands. I barely like computers at that time. I was very anti, compared to what I am today. So when I had a few friends convince me, like, hey, Maya, like, I think this would be really good for you to experience. Also, at the time I was working at the art center, so I was, around art supplies, but I wasn't around like digital stuff. So my friend was like, okay, like you get to learn how to work with computers and printers and stuff, but you're going to be able to do this with pay. You get paid this amount. And I was like, oh, and I was like, okay, like, why do they pay that much? And they're like, you do know that there's jobs that actually pay artists. And that was just like
shocking to you.
It was shocking to me because people always try to imply that, oh, if you're going to be an artist, you're going to starve, you're going to pick up some weird job.
It's like a bad stigma to it almost.
Yeah, no one's going to like you. And that just wasn't the case. When I got to International Paper, I actually was sitting there and they let me, they were so great. So we got to explore packaging. So they do packaging for like Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, and like, really cool brands that are really innovative.
Those big
with their
global
stuff.
brands. Got it.
And so from there, I was able to play around with material and really get associated with paper, which was really exciting because, side note, my dad, he works at a paper pulp factory. So I was always around fibers and paper, but this was a new experience for me to where I actually was like, oh wow, like I actually like packaging. Like this is really cool. So that's just something I put in the back of my head, like, okay, this is something I would like to do in the future, which ended up, happening. So that was really cool. And then also at international paper, I was able to explore illustration. So that started off with infographics. They were like, hey, we have this big old document with a whole bunch of words. Can you do something with this? And I was like, I don't know. And I decided to play around and I started to build characters like Cheddar,
Yeah.
the deer and like all this stuff. And it ended up being the beginning of my style that I ended up doing around 2019. So that's kind of where it led to me going from just graphic designer to being like, okay, illustrator.
So I know that you graduated from MCA. So your journey after that, now to where you are today, what was that in between journey like from graduating to actually placing an internship or finding your next job or your next collab? What was that in between space like for you? Like, how did you actually get started and begin your process?
How did I get started? How I got started was really, to be honest with you, towards the later part of my college career, I really took advantage of the professional practices that my college had to offer. And so after I was able to gain experience with the international paper internship, I actually was able to go back to the office and do different interviews for jobs with, because they were like, hey, like within the next year, come with us and practice interviews and stuff. So with that, I was told about a whole bunch of like networking events in Memphis. I went to one of the new Memphis, like new experience events, back in the day. And from there, I actually met my, at the time, mentor.
Yeah.
So she was really cool. She was from Miami and we were just talking, I'm just getting to know another creative, but she was like, hey, would you like to work for New Memphis? And I was like, yeah, I was just out of experience. I'm like, of course. So I was able to work with them over the summer and they loved my work so much because I helped them with a whole bunch of the branding. For example, the revamp of most of their branding right now. And I don't know if they still have it, but the launch college mentoring program that they used to have when I was there, I haven't checked back. But they were super into just the type of work I was doing. So they invited me back to their organization in October and I became their design like specialist for like 2 years. And then from there, I just gained a whole bunch of experience because I also used to sit with the event person. If you're a designer or a graphic designer, always ask to be placed with the event specialist. You will always get way better work when you do. Anyway, I'm just letting you know.
More insight, y'all.
But basically, I worked that way for 2 years, and that was really fun until I kind of wanted to do something else. Like, I loved connecting people in Memphis, but I was trying to figure out other interests that kind of fit me. So after a while, I got connected with one of my college friends, and she let me know that there was a position available for Memphis River Parks. So at the time, I was like, I don't think that, me going from helping college students to taking care of parks makes sense, but it did because I like doing it. I like going to parks. So basically, I just took a chance on myself, and I was able to work with them. I think not that much. I think it was a little, like, it wasn't a year. I literally shortly after took a jump for my full-time, creative stuff, but I worked with them, and that was amazing because I was able to really get experience with environmental design. Also, I got to learn how to talk to different people. For example, some of the ambassadors knew how to speak Spanish, so I got to practice Spanish. And then I had the opportunity to go walk up and down the parks like Tom Lee and like practice that. And to the point where I think right now at River Garden, there should be some blue plates on top of the beams that explains the plants and stuff. I was able to be the person to be like, hey, we need that. And like, I think they should still have it, but some Spanish signage. I was the person who was like, we need that because you just live life and you just see what people need. And you're just like, hey, this job made me realize that when I walk down the river at 6 a.m. and I meet these beautiful families, I'm listening to this lady because I know how to speak Spanish to an extent now. She's saying that she doesn't understand the sign. And I want this person to enjoy the space just like how I enjoy this space.
Yep.
So I go back in the office and did that. So that was my thing for like 8 months until I stopped doing that and then went to children book stuff. So
Yep.
yeah.
And what I love is that you were able to have that experience because you went to a Memphis networking event.
Literally.
Like branching out and stepping out of your comfort zone and really putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that.
Literally, like a lot of my stuff, even the Crocs and scissor thing, like Memphis all day. There's always someone from Memphis just somewhere, and it's really just, I mean, you don't know it, but it's just the fact that
There's always somebody watching.
there's always someone watching and someone who just genuinely just like you as a person,
Yep.
you know? So even if you don't have the skill, just so that's the thing. Some people don't feel like they're qualified. They're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that.
Yep, really coming out of college being like the
don't know.
bottom of the food chain.
Right. You know, you're just like, I feel like I can't do anything. Sometimes people are just watching you.
Yeah.
And they just love how you just, how your mindset and
I
the
want to
way.
see if you'll even try.
Right. Your willingness to even learn to try. Sometimes they'd be like, hey, I love the fact you're so willing to just be competent in what you do. Let me show you. And so it's really cool to have people be willing to invest in just you experimenting, you gaining more knowledge, and just taking a chance on you. So it's a lot of that in Memphis.
So how did you find your style?
My style? I found my style by honestly making a whole bunch of mistakes and then just being like, you know what? That looks great.
I kind of like that one though.
Yeah. So a lot of times what gets people when they're making their identity in their style versus how I do it, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll copy what that other person is doing and then they stop. And that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go analyze the person's work and you pick it apart. You're like, okay, I really love this color that this person incorporates. I love so pulling inspiration versus just really copying. And from there, that kind of helped me decide what I want to do. For example, a lot of my movement is inspired by, in general, 1980s like graffiti culture. I don't know why. I just love the way that they used to draw people back in the day. Keith Haring is one of the more known people, but like, to be honest with you, one of my favorite graffiti artist people, his name is Cornbread. People don't talk about Cornbread, but like, he's a really great artist and I love his lettering. And that inspired me to use the Sharpie more to do my lettering stuff, which later on I was able to put in the iPad and to think that like Cornbread inspired me to draw stuff up. And now I have a video of, I think now the formal meta, person. Yeah, it was like one of the meta officers. She was just like, yeah, like they did this. Like it was really cool because I'm like, I never thought me being inspired by someone else to just give myself a try would lead to this. So
but look at you now.
I'm telling you, all you got to do is really explore color, explore subjects that you really love or things that you just genuinely enjoy talking about, and also just make mistakes. And don't make, nothing to harm people, but make mistakes that are good and that you're willing to take.
Mistakes that you can grow from.
Yeah, that you take the risk, literally.
So I know that you touched on collabing and the social media world, and I know for Vogelman, I'm constantly trying to come up with new ideas, whether it's an Instagram post, Instagram reel, TikTok reel, etc. What I wanted to know is what's your thought process behind creating your own content? Because I know there's an importance of communicating through content and not just posting it, because I feel like things nowadays can become so AI generated and not really personal, and people aren't really able to grasp onto it if there's not really a thought or something that you're trying to communicate through whatever you're posting. So what's your creative mindset behind, or like thought process whenever you're thinking of, okay, I want to put this out here, put this out there? Like, what's your creative process?
For me, I had to decide a few things, like what was my purpose of creating. So for example, I know that a lot of social media is based off of entertainment. Like people are just doing skits, or they'll do like a strong factor to keep you going. And so basically you're trying to, or how I see it is, you want your social media to become kind of like a distribution center, as they would say, to where basically you are providing some not only evergreen, so you're staying current, you're sharing things, your perspective of your content, but also things that are relevant to your audience, to people. You're just really trying to share what you have knowledge on, but also you want to be mindful of, I say be more mindful of the message,
Yeah.
the impact. And numbers are cool, but numbers, they're not, to me, and just what I've talked to from people in the industry, that's not the say all be all. Like,
Yeah.
for example, you might meet someone who has like 70,000 followers, but they might be known for just entertainment. They're not the person you go to get, consultation on your business. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? It just really.
Yep. Something that I've noticed recently is I feel like social media has kind of numbed us to like
Yeah.
the numbers. Because it's like, imagine you get 100 likes on a post. Imagine you have 100 people come up to you in one day telling you, I really like what you have on today. I really like your hair. Like, it's so dehumanized almost, to where it's like,
Yes.
why am I feeling like me getting 100 likes on this post is not enough, or that I'm not reaching enough people? Like, that's just crazy for me to think
That's
of.
for me. I think right now, I'll just say this from, because I did study AI and like UI UX design, and then some other stuff. To me, that's just a part of the psychology of design. So a lot of people who aren't really aware of design thinking, they're not aware of how these buttons and how these numbers really affect them on a mental and emotional way. And so you're attaching your value to these pixels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're thinking, oh, my brand is excellent because I have 50,000, because you're following this matrix that these people just came up with, and now you're describing you're subscribing to that, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, based off what they said, my stuff is great. And some people will have the mindset like, your stuff is not as good, or you're not performing well. And to me, I'm like, how can you tell someone if they're performing well or not?
Based off of some pixels right now. Yeah.
I mean, when you really look at the greats, like when you actually pay attention to the people who left like a really great legacy, like, yes, like you'd be like, yeah, that person made these type of numbers and this and that. But think about that person's artistry. Think about their mindset, the way that they impact the people around them, the way that they made them think or try something different. Those type of things, I think you should be mindful of, versus being like, hey, I made 300 people laugh. So when I'm doing my illustrations and stuff, I want to have something to say.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of times, especially if you're ahead of the curve, that's not something that people are going to subscribe to just immediately. You might get 50 likes on something, you're like, I got all this stuff, but I only got 50 likes on it. I'm going to be honest with you. That happened to me before, and I got a whole brand deal off of something I just got 25 to 50 likes on, versus something I got 700 likes on or 1,000 likes on, just because someone saw something that I made. They're like, oh my goodness, you care about that too? I really care about this thing as well. Is there a possibility for us to keep sharing this message in this format? So it's really cool to be mindful of how your story relates to other people, and how that can really engage in new storytelling.
You've built your style to where it is very recognizable. Like, if someone sees your work and they've been following you for a minute, I know it's very easy for them to pinpoint, like, yep, that's Maya's work.
Yeah.
So what themes do you feel like you follow most when you're creating something, or when you want to put something out, or like if a brand is coming to you, what kind of themes or values are important to you when you're creating your own work?
It's really interesting you're asking this, because I think all the time about how brands like Adobe and Target back in like 2022, they used to tell me like, hey, we have your art in these creative briefs and stuff. So I'm like, what are you sharing? Like,
How did you feel when hearing that?
I was excited at first, but I was like, wait, like,
How did you get that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who did it to you?
So I'm like, yay, but like, what? But for me, when I'm sharing my work and it attracts these clients, per se, especially because I got these big clients, but I'm also attracting like ACLU and like AARP. Well, I was like, what AARP? You know,
Arp.
yeah, and like these really fun brands. The Henry Ford magazine, they were just like, hey Maya, like, you know, what are you talking about? And a lot of the stuff that I was talking about was just, hey, identity, like knowing yourself, community. So, do you know the people around you?
Yep.
Do you communicate? Like, what is that like?
Mm-hmm.
Also, just love, self love, giving love to others, how to practice that platonically, romantically, you know, all those different kinds. And also just experience. So, culture. So, a lot of people have their own perception of how life is done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, you and your friend, you practice different religions, or you and your friend have different hair, or you have different skin. Like, how does that affect your day? And like,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about it. So with my art, I like creating the potential to have just discussions about something new. So they usually come to me about identity, community, celebrating of self, and just others. So I'm just really thankful that they think
Yeah.
of me when it comes to that, because it's really celebratory, like, themes, you know?
Yep. And even while you were listing your things, there's one
Yeah.
city in particular that kept coming to my mind, and that's here in Memphis. Like,
Yes.
we're all about celebrating each other and being authentic to what
Yes.
we believe. And so I really want to know, why did you decide to stay in Memphis and do your creative thinking here?
Here, because I just really got tired of people having to say that Memphis is only here to show struggle, or
Yeah.
to show how hard we came from. You know, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm this hard, I'm this. We're really subscribing to these old narratives that I think a lot of people are ready to grow from, but don't have the communication or the resources or the people to really make that happen. And my family's from here,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, they've been here for a long time.
Family ties.
Yeah, so my folks, you know, they're from South Memphis. My mom, she went to South Side. My dad went to Hamilton.
Shout out.
Yeah, right, I love them. And like they gave, you know, they worked their butt off and they gave us a good life. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm like, that's cool, you know, that I get to experience what I get to, you know, a lot of kids here don't go to art school and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, but it's like, hey, you know, I can show you, you know what I'm saying, the skills. Even though you're not able to go, like, you can talk to me and let's connect so you can have this too. So I
Mm-hmm.
just want people to feel like they don't have to run to a new city
Yeah.
to get, you know, somewhere to make it.
We have what you need here in the city.
We have good foundations
Mm-hmm.
for really strong. I'm talking from like the creative side.
Yeah.
So we have really good foundations. I think people are trying to figure out, how do we get more people invested here when there's so much negative PR and
Mm-hmm.
outlook, you know? It's kind of like you're being bullied by a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people, you know? It's like Memphis, like, you're the nerd,
But it's
Memphis.
like, but wait.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not. And so basically, it's like Memphis is outsmarting these bullies all the time. We're
Mm-hmm.
always, you know, me and other people that I know and love, they are doing the work to really say, hey, this is a narrative that you can have and you can live here. You can be a, you know, really well off musician, athlete, nurse, chef, you know, culinary person,
Mm-hmm.
business owner, whatever, here. You can do it. Especially now with the internet. A lot of
Yeah.
my friends, you do a lot of local business here, but you use the internet and you can get business elsewhere. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many people from Memphis and other places too. So you just need to connect with your community wherever they are, but you can always invite them back home. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, oh, that's something else people forget to do. They realize that people leave and they be like, hey, like, you can come home sometimes, like,
Yeah.
you know, and share your experience, because um, I just think that we're trying to fill in the gap to where people don't feel like they have to do everything by themselves. We could
Mm-hmm.
talk about that later, but it's more so a lot of people, they feel like they don't have the resources here. They feel like everyone is negative and there's like crab in a barrel type of mindset. This, and like,
Yeah.
everyone's feeling that way, which is crazy. It's like, if everyone feels that way, then who here feels like there's some type of potential to actually collab to create something better. Also, people aren't aware of the financial, just I don't know how to explain it. There's a lot of financial opportunity here in Memphis and also Tennessee. It's just that we're not taught that. And so people think, oh, I have to go to New York because that's where the money is. No, I literally go to, I go hang out where the artists and like where these entrepreneurs are hanging out. And I'm also hanging out in these spaces where these organizations and these grant writers, they're saying like, hey, this year we have X amount millions available for you. And this is how much we acquired. And then you're going to these smaller rooms and these people are like, I'm barely getting paid $10. Like, what's happening here? And I'm just right now figuring out the gap. So right now, I just think it's really cool to see that there is a foundation being built, a stronger foundation being built for Memphis entrepreneurs and creatives. And now it's more so us needing to just communicate and get into each other's spaces, showing up for each other. Literally, even as a college student, going somewhere and just keep showing up and being like, hey, like, I'm interested in this. Because that's what I did. When I was in college, I just went and showed up at places. Not like weird, but it's like, okay, I'm going to go to these gallery spaces and I'm going to keep showing up. After 3 or 4 times, people, if they're like a professional, they're going to notice you. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, I see you all the time here. Or I see you doing your thing here. And you get to organically meet these people, these connections, and you're able to build that foundation to where y'all start collaborating to make those goals, to make those, money moves that, people talk about all the time. So, yeah.
So with your collabs, you have done a lot. So which one has been your top notch, top of the line? It came to you and you immediately said, yes, I'm all in. What was that collab for you?
For me, there's so
Don't
many.
be afraid to list a few because I want to hear about them all.
Yeah, so for me, it was definitely, like, the known one was the KitKat one. I love KitKat. And then the Crocs one was amazing. But the ones that people don't know as much are, I did a 9x9 foot illustration for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. They asked, I didn't know it was going to be that big. That was so cool. I was like, what?
Whoa.
And they were my first client who they were just like, just do whatever you want. I was like, what? They're like, no.
That even goes back to the point that you were just making, like reaching out to people that aren't in Memphis to just show Memphis has talent. Like,
yeah. So with that situation, it was really, okay. So my friend Lawrence Matthews, he got me like connected with this person named Catherine, and Catherine was working on this like poster, like book. It was like a book project that they just wanted to do. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I would love to do that because I love music. I love Memphis. And so I contribute like a really cool design. And we just had such a great time that later on in her career, she was connected with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and she just reached out. She was like, oh my, like, we had such a great time. Like, are you willing to do this? So honestly, literally just being cool and just talking to people, you just, people remember you. They think that you're cool and they want to just keep doing stuff. So
what did you, like, what was the mural?
The mural was, at the time, this was like around when COVID just had ended, so people were just getting back out. But it was in commemoration of the people who were helping during that time. But it was really nice because at first I thought it was like going to be a really small piece, but they like made it big for the administrative office, and then they did a whole drive. Like, we did T-shirts and stuff, so that the community there could get some,
I love that.
That's
so sweet.
Stuff. Yeah, I always at the end of the day when I do stuff, I'm like, please, like, is there anything for the community? Because it's cool for me to have my art out there and to have my name, hey, I did this thing.
But it's all about the impact that's coming behind it, though.
Yeah, you just need impact. Like, what does this do? Like, besides what does it say? Like, what is this doing? So it's like, this looks cool, but like, like, how is this going to improve someone's life? Or how is this, it's simple. Some people, you want people to smile. So bare minimum, you're just trying to make people smile.
Yeah.
But it's just being intentional about your art and having it be able to open up just more conversation or action. That's what I really think is super important.
Okay, now I have to ask because I really love her music.
Yeah.
The SZA collab.
Yeah.
How did that come into works?
That was really, honestly, that just showed, like, okay, that one honestly just showed up.
I think I would have fangirled the entire time.
I freaked out because at that time, I was like 26. I was 26, 27, and I was still trying to get used to just the volume of work I was receiving, because this was right after I did my. So it's funny because the Crocs campaign literally reached out to me the week after the Skittles campaign, but they launched at different times.
Y'all see how she just dropped Skittles?
and so it was really scary because I was like, how are they getting my email? And at the time, I had my website, I had my agent helping me out, and they're like, Maya, it's because they're Googling you up and they're finding. I was like, oh my God, like, it's wild because you never know who's paying attention to you.
Yeah.
So one of the employees at the time, her name's Julia. She said that she just randomly found me on Instagram. She was like, I was just scrolling through Instagram and you popped up and your stuff was really cool. So I tell people all the time, I don't care if you think your stuff needs to be improved. I don't care if you think it's undone. Just post stuff. Post it. And you
be confident with it.
Be confident and refine it later. Like, you can always take a project. People don't go back and look at Renaissance paintings. They'll be like, hey, this is so-and-so version 3. Like, literally go back and refine your stuff, but put it out there so people can see it. And yeah, that type of collaboration definitely came just by trusting myself, putting it online.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, what was the Skittles campaign and the thought process behind it?
Sure. So the Skittles campaign for that year was explain your pride. So it was like, show your pride. And so with that campaign, they gave me and 3 other artists the opportunity to showcase what our idea of showing our pride looked like. And for me, my Skittles bag, because all this, okay, so basically with that concept, they take the Skittles bag, right? And they take, quote unquote, they take all the colors away from the Skittles so you can share it with people. So the bag is gray. And so your design is supposed to add in the color. And so for me, I did the concept that love is boundless. So I was able to do a theme that was based off community, love, and I played around with space. So I basically had like these floating heads just to represent like all different people, identification, ethnicity, nationality, all type of stuff, and different colors to represent, if people had labels or identification that they, loved, or some people didn't. But I pretty much was able to depict the rainbow, but in a way that really showcased what it's like when you're allowing yourself to be yourself amongst other people who feel comfortable being themselves. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
There are 2 other works I want to talk about before we wrap up.
Yeah.
The Michelle Obama book.
Yes.
Please tell me how that came about.
That was random as well.
Like the Michelle Obama.
Yeah. So for this book, it was really entertaining because that was my very first children's book I did, like, big time. So previously, before that, I just got a job. So this is what happened. I got demoted from my job here in Memphis, and I was so scared because right after COVID happened, everything had shut down. So like, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything going for myself. I'm like, oh my God, freaking out. But luckily, just because I took a chance on myself and started posting my work, there was a education company in New York called Amplify. They just came by and they were like, hey, we love your work. Like, can you work for us? I'm like, what? So
perfect timing.
Perfect. Yeah, it was awesome because I literally didn't have a job for only like 3 weeks. I was like, I don't know how y'all knew, but this is great. So, and I'm just going to shoot numbers. So basically, here in Memphis, I was a park designer doing all this stuff. I was getting paid probably, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was probably like 26, an hour. That's because that was like my second or third job. So, and so I was like, okay, that's cool. But when I got hired at this New York job, mind you, I'm taken on a brand new role. I wasn't doing graphic design. This is strictly illustration. They were really nice, gave me the equipment, and they offered me, I think it was 55 or 60 an hour. So basically, I was able to not only gain a new skill because these people were really nice, but I was able to negotiate my value of my art at the same time. And from there, they were so nice to teach me all the techniques of illustration. So so I learned from like professional illustrators how to do my job.
Yeah.
And then immediately after I finished that first book with them, that's when that came along with Quarto. And Quarto was my first international client.
How many different languages is the book?
I believe now they have up to like 15 50 languages. Yeah, so there's so many. I'm trying to collect them all. They gave me a few of them, but I'm like, I want the one
Collectibles.
I want the French one. I don't know, I want all the different ones. So it's really cool that they kind of mentioned that. They told me that it was going to be like printed like around the world, but they didn't mention until later the different languages. Like, oh no, we wanted to surprise. I'm like, how do you surprise someone with that? Like, that's so cool. And so that was a really cool moment, this book, because international paper prepped me for that. I used to proofread different languages with Yolanda, and so it was just really cool to already have that type of, I guess, experience. And then later on, they came up with this and like, hey, can you read this? I'm like, oh my goodness, like I did this before. And it was just really cool to tie in all my stuff together and do a lot of research. I'm talking about watching documentaries, reading books, articles.
The behind the scenes and the prep is really what makes the work so good.
Wonderful. It was amazing. I love her brother Craig. Amazing person. I don't know.
You wouldn't know that if you wouldn't have researched her.
Exactly.
Into it.
Because like we know, like we see people all the time on pop culture stuff, but like when you actually get the time to meet, like get to experience a person, is so fun. And then when you're illustrating them or drawing them and not doing it in like a realistic style, it's fun to really take the information they're giving you and be like, okay, like what shape, or what color, or how can I really, replicate this person's quality of life, and her quality of life is just amazing, especially when she starts doing like the whole food thing with the, gardens and the kids. I'm like, superhero, wonderful person.
I love it. And also, I know you mentioned you did work here in the city with the National Civil Rights Museum.
Yes.
So what was that process like for you?
So back when I first started out, and I was outside of MCA, I worked at a few nonprofits around here, but I was able to start picking up client work, which honestly, that gets really cool because you start to be like, oh wow, like I'm actually doing something to where people want me a part of their campaign, their mission. And so I had previously, before I did stuff with the National Civil Rights Museum, I was doing stuff with United Way and a few other people around town, like New Memphis, just helping them out. And it was really cool because I got the motion and the notion of like how to really communicate the voice of Memphis. Like, what are the stories we want to tell people? How do we want to showcase that? And so when it came to the National Civil Rights Museum, I was like 22, 23 at the time. And it was the MLK 50th. So that was really cool to be so young and be able to help. I think this book was for one of the nights here, the evening of the story. So I was the one who was able to like, set up all the design, like, hey, put that picture right here, like as a 22, 23-year-old person.
Having that full creative.
Yes, that whole creative direction. And so it was really nice just to be able to work with people like Faith Morris and Gray and Jericho, and Connie, all of them. They're really great. It was really fun just to really understand how my degree worked in the real world and not just, some type of project that your teacher gave you. It's like, hey, you get to talk about Martin Luther King and his story to these people who are going to invest in this museum that literally helps finance, certain stuff downtown, but obviously shares Black history, the part, of Memphis that people don't get to know about. And to me, as a 20-something, that should be like a heck yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're just making a difference, you know? And that was my start. Like, well, one of my many starts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maya, thank you so much for joining me in the studio. But so that we can stay connected and that our listeners can even look you up afterwards, where can we find you on socials?
Oh my goodness. So right now I'm in the middle of renovations. So you can reach out to me on social media at Hey Maya Saine, Hey Maya Mia Saine Saine, on all the platforms.
There you go.
So Instagram, all that. LinkedIn, just write my name. I'll be there. And my website, I'm renovating it right now.
Coming soon, y'all. Coming soon.
I'm so excited. MayaSaine.com. But right now you can find my work or just a gist of it at my agent's website, AnnaGoodson.com, and then just look me up from there. You literally can just, just Google. You just literally just Google. Yeah. So basically, yeah, those are my top 3 recommendations. But yeah, my website is coming up soon. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Well, having you in the studio today has been amazing. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. This has been Business in Blue, all things business, all things Memphis.